with her big dumb face. The longest opening sequence.
Madonna's midlife crisis.
Oh my god, it's so good, guys.
We're not told that. Yeah, we do. We're not told that. It is written. It is written.
Yeah, that intro better than the movie we're about to talk about. That's all you need to know. Good night.
Loading up on once again the
Crown Royal's coming back.
No.
crappiest whiskey I could find, called Four Freedoms, pure American gold.
This
Gone.
movie's so bad it made me sick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was
Crown
literally
Royal Regal
while I was
Apple's coming
watching
back.
this movie, when I was sitting in the theater, I was like, I'm starting to feel unwell. And now
for
I'm
many
sick.
reasons.
Yeah, this
More than
this
one
shit's coming
reason.
back. I swore this off.
Oh God, the Apple Crown
swore
is
this
coming
off.
back.
I
Yes.
swore this off. SB,
Yes.
can I like demonetize SB? Can we
Yeah, SB.
can we
you're-
punish him?
We're gonna hear
Can we
dead
do
to us.
something
SB.
That was
SB?
his fault.
You never, because he never should have suggested it ever. He's like, you guys should do that movie. You should do that movie.
Yeah.
Never
What else?
again.
What else came out this week? Huevos did
Uh,
Hypnotic.
Hypnotic came out, which I didn't
Were we
know about.
aware?
I should have watched that one. We should have watched Hypnotic. We should have watched Fool's
I
Paradise.
want to watch
with Charlie
Nefarious.
Day.
I still want to watch Nefarious.
I'm not watching enough. And you know what? Apparently, the
I've heard
BlackBerry
Blackberry's
movie's
good.
coming out because that's a thing now. Because we have to watch movies about products like Tetris and Nike shoes, and now
We
Blackberries.
didn't need another
Yeah,
one of those.
Yeah, product
for our
movies.
list.
All right, Charlie, get into the rants. Come on.
All right,
Let's
you
do this.
trying to just get this done with.
Let's
We want to
get
get
this-
this done with so we can get back to watching Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Or
don't wanna
playing
be
Zelda
here.
or
Ooh.
doing whatever.
Ooh, that's potent. Hang on, I need a little bit more of this. This Four
Mm.
Freedoms.
Tasty.
Someday I want to have like I
Is
would
that what
love
it's
to
called?
be. Yeah, I would love to be. If we could get paid in Four Freedoms. If you're listening, we'd love to just get paid in blended whiskey and like the
Unsponsored spot for
crappiest.
100 of those. 'Cause
Yeah,
they're
right.
probably like $15 a
Oh
handle.
my God.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. All right. Let's reset here. Let's get into opening rant modes. Resetting.
I'm gonna mostly be muted
because this
I'm
is
coughing
we
and
need to
saying
save we could save lives on this one, you know, if we warn enough people. But nobody's going to see this movie.
Oh,
No
yeah,
one's gonna
The
go
guy
see this
in my
movie.
theater was
Nobody's gonna see it.
vaping. He was trying to kill himself.
Yeah, yeah. Nan said that a guy took a phone call.
There was a guy-
He
There-
took
it
a
was
phone
me
call.
and two other guys. There was one guy in my row. He, for some reason, booked the seat right next to me, and I figured I'm not taking my seat because no one else is going to be in here. And then there was a guy behind us. Guy next to me took a call, and his phone rang again. Guy behind me definitely was vaping.
So funny.
Yeah.
Hey,
my
can I get
theater,
ahead of
I
that?
had,
And that was Friday night at 6:45.
I watched it at
prime movie time.
11:15 p.m. and there was a family of 4 that went to this movie, and maybe like 1 or 2 other people. And I saw one guy like bolt out of the theater, and I wish I had.
Were the kids
Bolted
into
with
it
Family
at all?
might have enjoyed it.
They might have been. We'll talk about it. They might have been
Yeah.
fans of the franchise. I don't
Okay.
know. There's at least okay. Here's the thing. There's at least
They
some
used to be
somewhat
fans of the
interesting.
franchise.
They used to be after watching this movie. I don't know. There is some interesting things about the franchise as a whole.
Yeah,
but
I'd like to. Yeah, I'd
But
like
like
to be filled in.
this is. Oh, so
Yes. Okay. All right.
Anyway, Charlie. Go.
I'm gonna shut you guys down because I can't hear you anymore. I just want to simmer down. Just really want to relax. Talk about this movie. Knights of the Zodiac is a difficult movie to review because it feels like beating up a retarded person, like giving poison to a baby, like ripping the head off a duckling or sexually violating your buddy's grandma. You know, things that don't take a lot of effort. Speaking of low effort, Knights of the Zodiac is a movie with all style and no substance, all flash and no bang. It's the product of taking the basic hero's journey, filling it up with every cliched line in the book, and then asking a 5-year-old to fill in the rest. But they did kill Sean Bean, so at least they got something right. Otherwise, this movie gave me AIDS. That's all I have to say.
Well, you got it
Awesome.
worse than I did, it sounds like. I just got a sore throat.
Yeah.
Alright.
Well, it starts that way.
All right.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and get ranked, everybody.
Yay.
Yeah. All right. Also,
Yay.
check out our new merch.
Yay.
Oh no, actually, I will talk about this in a more lively manner now. Yeah, we have mugs that have art on them with Charlie, myself, and Nance as different Bond people.
Bonds.
I
Yeah.
would like to own one of these one day.
hmm
Have enough money. Please tell your friends to subscribe so we can have more cash to buy.
Is the black version new?
I don't know.
It comes in white and black.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
But
And
it's cool.
But if you get the black version, Nans looks bald, which is great.
That's all right. It'll make me look
Yeah.
older. I have such a baby face on that thing. But...
Yeah.
It's it's a really cool piece of merch. If you'd like to buy it, it's at our store. So please do that.
It's because you never
Support
have
the
any
channel.
facial hair because
I'm incapable of growing.
bird never nest in bare tree.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, move on.
Move on. Yay.
No,
Knights
don't
of the
move on. Go back.
Zodiac. I don't want to. I don't want to. All right. Knights of the Zodiac's directed by Tomek Bagninski. Written by Sean Campbell, Matt Stukin, and Kyle Murray. This is probably the last movie they ever make. Those poor guys. Based on Saint Seiya by Masami Kurumada.
Whiskey.
I don't even care. It's
moving
all
on.
Japanese. I don't even care. Okay, this part's going to be a little long, so bear with me.
Okay.
All right, so first I do have
Why
to give
does that guy have
credit
a sparring glove on?
because he likes
There were a lot of
sparring.
sparring gloves. There were a lot of they took that looking glove and then they make it all knighty.
There's more. Okay,
Okay.
there's some stuff about this movie that I just feel like they just kind of, whoever wrote this movie just didn't understand the essence of the thing that they were trying to write. So we'll kind of get into that. So first off, this is based on a manga called Saint Seiya, which is the name of the main character. In America, it got ported over and it became Knights of the Zodiac. But the names are kind of interchangeable. Of course, Netflix has a series out now. It's called Knights of the Zodiac, Saint Seiya. But I first have to give credit to Secret Galaxy. It's a channel on the YouTubes you should check out. They do a lot of it's a toy channel, but they do a lot of history videos about different 90s and 80s cartoons. Pretty cool. So Knights of the Zodiac is based on a manga series, Saint Seiya, created by Masami Kurumada. Kurumada was originally inspired to make manga based on wrestling, but there wasn't any interest. So he changed the concept, making it more about fighters with superpowers and added Greek mythology. In the original manga, Seiya is the main character who gets the Pegasus cloth, which is what they call it in the show or the anime or the manga. I'll probably use those words interchangeably, but they're called cloths. They have different levels. So there's like a bronze cloth, a silver, and a gold. Bronze is like the starter level, which is what they're supposed to be having in this thing that we watched, but they don't really explain that. And there's a fight, and he fights with others that have other Knights of the Zodiac. They all have these different cloths, different abilities. And they're fighting this thing called the Galaxy Wars, which is basically like a competition, which the movie just kind of doesn't really talk about at all because it's too busy with this other weird plot with a military that doesn't quite make any sense to me. And they're supposed to be trying to win the gold Sagittarius armor, which is the armor from the guy in the beginning of the movie. Charlie, I think you missed the first 5 minutes. Is that right? Nance, did you miss? No? Okay.
I walked in right when that was started.
Yeah, so
they
fighting...
started this movie early. I swear they did. It's like nobody wanted to put their ads before this. So I showed up at the normal time and I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
I walked in when the dude was in the
gym.
The gym. Yeah. He was about to walk out and fight. Yeah.
There's like this gold armor.
The Spider-Man scene.
Yeah. There's a scene in the beginning that actually I'm like, this is probably the best scene in the entire movie because I'm like, okay, this looks okay. Like it didn't look terrible to me. And then by the end of the movie, it just gets worse and worse and worse. So there's this gold armor. They're trying to fight to see who wins this armor, but there's way more to it, and I don't even know all the details. It's a long-running anime series. Now,
wait, SB just sent us $1. Yay!
Yay!
Yay! SB, you are absolved of your sin. Not a sin though.
All three of ours, 2 hours and pain of having to watch this
Yeah,
is
but also
This was-
That's me
SB,
worth a
we're also
dollar.
just fucks. We're taking the piss. Like
Yeah.
Always, like I love watching crappy movies. Like they're
I
fun
don't.
to talk about. So I have
I thought I
no
did.
qualms with
I'd prefer.
I
not
thought I
to
did.
watch a crappy
I
movie.
thought
would
I liked
rather watch a
watching
good
crappy
movie.
movies. Then I saw this movie. It changed my life. There's way more to the okay. So there's way more to the show, but I think the big takeaway is this show, this whatever. It's more like Mortal Kombat than it is like Power Rangers, even though you can see a lot of similarities between the two. The manga was adapted to an anime show in 1986 by Toei Animation, same studio behind Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon. Their parent company, Toei, created Super Sentai, which became in the US Power Rangers. Super Sentai took off just about everywhere except for the US. When the show finally premiered in the US in 2003, the market had already been saturated with Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon and other anime shows because they were basically like, Deke was like, oh, well, let's port this other anime that's super popular. But by the time they did it, it's such an old show by then that nobody really wanted to watch it. And it looks like other shows that had already been out that were inspired by the show. So it was just like, people were like, what is this? Like, no one really wanted to watch it. And it only aired like 30 some odd episodes of the 60. I think that's what it was. It was like they adapted 60 of the episodes, but Deke Entertainment, they had heavily censored this. So in America, like we didn't really get the original version, and then slightly later they did more like a sub version of the original Saint Seiya that came into the United States. So it's really weird to me that they were like, yeah, let's make an American production of this thing that didn't do well in the US at all. Like nobody really knows what
Like,
this
there's
is.
so many other animes that are
Right.
well known and popular. I've never heard of this,
Yeah,
which
this
is a bad sign. And I am
yeah,
not
it's-
an anime person.
Yeah, and
but,
it's
like,
popular in every other country. Like it was popular in Europe, it was popular in Latin America, but like in the United States, it was the only thing we never really got. So we had all these other shows like Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon and Gundam and all these really much better shows, I think. And Saint Seiya was like, no one knew, no one cared about it.
Yeah,
So
so
it just kind of
it's funny that people didn't know that Dragon Ball's old, like from the
Yeah.
80s, and then they just or like like Power Rangers is such a funny story where it's like take something that was a big hit and then just keep all the fighting scenes and then get a bunch of American teenagers refilm those scenes. Like it's
Power
it's-
Rangers
it's
from a
such an
series that's much
odd-
older than it was. But yes,
but it's such an odd thing I mean, of all of that to not know. I'm with Nans. Like general popular osmosis, I'm aware of this, that, and the other, but I'd never heard of this.
So it is
at
weird
all.
to me that someone was like, yeah, let's make because the idea of adapting anything, whether it's a Marvel Comics, whether it's Lord of the Rings, whatever it is, right? The reason is because it already has a built-in audience.
Yeah.
This, for some reason, they were like, yeah, let's make it for $60 million and bring it over to the United States. Like, who's going to watch this? Unless it does well overseas.
If this
but-
movie is an adaptation of the entire series, or is it
So,
like
okay, so here's the thing. I watched the first episode of the show because I was like, what is this show? Like, what is
year?
this thing that
What
I
year
watched?
did you say?
86. This thing
Okay.
came out in 1986.
Hey, that's
so it's-
when Chernobyl happened. We'll
you should
get
go
to
watch
that.
Chernobyl.
We just want to talk about Chernobyl.
You just want to talk about a show that has nothing to do with this. So anyway, in 1986, this came out. What was your question, Nancy? Oh yeah, the first episode is a lot like this, where it's like, but it's we don't have to do the stupid like, oh, the character who doesn't know anything. So we have all these other characters explaining the world and exposition of like, well, there's this Greek god. It's
yeah,
like
and that's kind of what I'm getting to. It's like if this is like a massive manga series,
yeah.
you can't just make a movie on it. Like visiting my family in Japan, I would go to my cousins, and he had like all the Dragon Ball books, and it's like there's
there's a
so
lot.
many. You can't just make one Dragon Ball movie and expect it to like cover everything.
No.
And most people here are aware of Dragon Ball because of the show that probably most
It's
of us
like
watched.
one of the most popular animes in the United States by far.
So that's what I'm wondering, like if this is a massive series and they're just like, let's try to make one movie out of it.
Well, the
Like,
movie
we don't
is
know what
sort
the
of based
cosmos
off
is
of
or any of this. There's like so much stuff goes unexplained.
they wouldn't have made this if they didn't think that they could turn it into a series. But the whole point then is that you have to have me in mind. You have to be like, Joe Blow dummy is American man who knows nothing about this has to come into it and fall in love with these characters. And the whole time I'm like, what is
What is this?
is it hard to follow? No, it's not hard to follow what's happening, but the things are coming at you in such a way that it's just like, this is a movie on a randomizer, right? That's why I said it's like have a 5-year-old fill in the gaps, because it feels like a story from a 5-year-old. And then this happened, and then that happened. And you're like my nieces and nephews, they tell me stories all the time. And I'll be like, oh, you didn't tell me this. And they're like, how do you not know about that? I go, and I have to explain to them all the time. I'm like, hey guys, listen. I don't share your brain. I don't share your perspective or your life. Not everything that you know is in my head too. So if you don't tell me, it's not in my head. But that's what this movie reads like. Is it like, oh, you should know all these things, and then meanwhile, random stuff is happening. Just random. Just this happens.
I would even say
random.
Let me save some of the things I talk about, because about this thing. Let's save some of it. Let's just get on. I'm not even going to talk about
aware of the manga or show.
I'm not even going to talk about the filmmaker. I'm not going to talk about, because apparently Tomek, the guy who made this, was like his claim to fame is he did all like the cutscenes for the Witcher games, which makes sense to me. He directs games, like the cinematic
scenes.
The cinematics for game cutscenes. That's what he directs. And so
that's
it's like,
that's pretty cool.
It's a weird thing to pull somebody for, because like the only nice thing I can say is that, like, the stunt choreography is not terrible, but it's like it's anyway.
Well, real quick, since you're saying that, it very much screams of somebody who's really, really excited for the action scenes and doesn't give a goddamn about the dialogue scenes. It's like just like breeze through this stuff. People just talking about these like really important concepts, but they're just kind of like, blah blah blah, Cosmo, blah 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 blah.
And it doesn't work for a movie.
And then when
like
it's time to fight, suddenly you can tell the filmmaker suddenly cares, because it's like this really well choreographed fight stuff where the camera's doing this type of stuff, and they're like they clearly cared about that stuff, but I don't care because I don't know what the fuck is going on.
No. And they try to explain things, but I feel like it's just it's too much to understand, that I'm like, I don't get it. I don't understand it. Yes, there's a show on Netflix. SB, there's a show.
Did he do?
That's what. Yeah, there's another show at Netflix. There's multiple shows. Like there's multiple animes that they've made off of this thing. But the one that's most known is the '86 one, and then there's a new one on Netflix that came out in like 2016.
Oh, I thought SB was talking about the Witcher show, but I don't know if.
No. He did like the cinematics for the games, not for the show.
Okay. Huh.
So. Yeah, he directed things for the show. All right, let's just talk about the actors, because why not?
I'm just happy to be here.
I'm just happy to be here, because that's who that is. I was gonna be mean and put like acting for dummies, like the acting for dummies book on the side, but I was like, I wasn't gonna be that mean, because
I thought he was like some K-pop star or something.
Okay.
Had he gotten the purple hair, he would have been the K-pop star.
Right.
She turned into a K-pop star by the end.
So McKinyu, like Madonna, his name's McKinyu, like it's just that, like Madonna.
Okay.
He's and he's in his quarter life crisis. He's a Japanese actor who you've probably never heard of any of his films, with the exception of he had a role in the second Pacific Rim Uprising, which I never saw that movie, so I have no idea what he does in that movie. He's also the son. He's the son of Sonny Kaiba, who appeared in Fast and the Furious, Tokyo Drift, and Kill Bill Volume 2. I think that's the mob boss in Tokyo Drift, if I'm mistaken. I could be wrong, but yeah, he's the son of that guy. So that's his claim to fame. And I guess he's more famous in Japan for tokusatsu, which is like, what is going on here?
I'm doing.
Get this out of here.
As you said, you sure that's not Nan's?
Oh.
So I'm just doing side-by-side comparison.
Yeah. He's got the Nan's head tilt going pretty good, like in that photo.
Oh, wait.
I'm just happy to be here.
Bring it back.
Hold on. Yeah,
bringing it back.
The thing? Bring it back. Ah, there we go. Okay, cool. So yeah. Now we got so that's who that is. Then we have Madison Eisman. You've probably seen her as the real version of the mean girl in Jumanji remakes. So like when they're in the real world, she's like the hot mean girl in those movies.
I thought she looked
And then
vaguely
she
familiar, but
turns
I
into
didn't know
Jack
why.
Black, right?
Yeah. Yes, she's the
Yeah.
one who turns into
Oh,
Jack Black.
okay.
And then she's also in Annabelle Comes Home, which is, I think, by all counts, the better of the Annabelle movies. So she's in that. Moving on, as always.
This I get what you're doing with the money, but shouldn't the money be reserved? That's all I'll say for now. But
it is.
These two and those two were not getting a pile of money.
Well,
no way.
I would no, but they're still doing it for money. Like, there's no way that they're like, yeah, let's do this
for money, but
for money. It's the only reason they're
Yeah.
probably doing it. I got you a role. What is it? Oh, it's in this anime adaptation. People like those, right? Okay, like that was their.
Yeah.
Does it have a check assigned to it? Yes. Okay. Well, we're gonna put you in this thing. You're like, all right, cool, we got it. So then we got Mark Dacascos. He plays Mylock. You probably know him from, if you remember, John Wick 3. He was the Japanese assassin Zero. He's like the funny assassin who's like, I want to be like you, John Wick, and they like fight and everything.
He has a man crush on John Wick.
Yeah, he's got a man crush on John Wick.
Yeah.
And then and you've seen him in other stuff. He's been in tons of stuff other than that. But fun fact, this is what going back to, it goes full circle here, right? So he played the original Red Ranger. And let me explain. So when Hayao Saban was pitching Power Rangers to people, he originally had a different Sentai series called Bioman, and he had made this pilot with all these these small actors. He was the guy he had for the Red Ranger for this pilot. And so so Super Sentai is still kind of connected to this. Is the same company who Toei, which is connected to the same company who made Super Sentai. So he played the character Victor Lee, who'd become the Red Ranger. And so it all connects. It's all connecting, guys. And then, of course, we got Nick Stahl, who plays Quesos. Nick Stahl, on the other hand, you probably remember him from the third Terminator movie. He played John Connor. That was the last thing I'd ever seen him in. Apparently, he's also on Fear the Walking Dead.
My favorite that he's in that you don't have up there is Sin City. He plays that yellow bastard.
Oh, he's the yellow bastard in Sin City?
He's the yellow bastard, yeah.
I didn't get
pretty awesome at that.
Yeah. Wow. Yay. He's in this movie.
I mean,
yay.
Yay.
Yeah,
all
super
right.
yay.
And then finally,
the big show. The big show. The reason we're all here, everybody.
The only reason we wanted to watch this movie. So Sean Bean plays Emilian Kiddo. Who cares? Who cares what their character's name? And then Famik Janssen.
I have no idea.
Famik? Is it Famik? How do you say her name?
Just say Famke. Just say Famke. I've only ever said Famke. I don't.
Yeah. Famke Janssen. There's nothing to talk about here. It's Sean fucking Bean and Famke Janssen. The only reason we decided to watch this film,
it's not a spoiler to tell you that Sean Bean dies.
Sean Bean dies.
As I said,
Alex Trevelyan in Onatop. Right. And I have nothing to add here. They probably did this movie for a giant bag of money because why not? And that's all. Look at
that beautiful rainbow, though. Look at that beautiful rainbow. Lord of the Rings to GoldenEye to X-Men. Like that's just
look at that.
That's fantastic.
That's all you need to know about these people. And there's
other
actors
they got
in this
the
movie.
big pile of cash. They got the big pile of like these two. At least Sean Bean. Sean Bean was brought in.
I can give you a reason not to do this movie because it could hurt your career, can it?
Right.
To be in a bad movie.
For these guys, they don't care. They're doing it for money.
What else does Sean Bean have to prove? But to your point, Nance, Sean Bean, he's still bringing it in this. He's as good as ever.
He's good.
Famke fucking sucks. Correction. She has some shit lines. She has her moment. Where I saw it with Scott. Part of why I was late was Scott, for reasons I don't need to go into, but other than the fact that it's Scott. So she has like her emotional moment with the, Athena chick and all that. But one of the biggest laughs of the movie is, and who gives a fuck about spoiler, but there's a moment where these two are talking and they're married, but they've been separated because like he's trying to protect Athena reincarnate and she wants to like capture and kill her and all that. And so they meet and they're talking, and then Sean Bean just like pulls a bomb out of like a hiding place. He's like, "Bitch, if I go down, I'm taking you with me." And he like softball pitches the bomb, so it goes
bad.
like 2 feet. And this is what happens though. This is the funny part. Famke turns her. She's like, "Oh no!" And she turns around and she shuffles like an old woman, and she goes, "Go, go, go!" Like that's the delivery. She goes,
it's not even that. It sounded like they had the ADR'd it later, and they were like, "Okay, say this line."
It's so good. So then she jumps in like a helicopter thing, and the entire building explodes, even though she's right next to it.
Explodes.
Like, yeah, like it all blows up, and then but for some reason in the aerial shot, the building just like blew up in a perfect square for some reason. I don't know what that was, but like she magically gets away, even though it all comes down to they ran out of money because they had to pay off Sean Bean, who was like, "Oh, I only have to work a week. Great, because you're gonna kill me, right? That's in my contract, right? So I only work a week on this.
I have to
Thanks.
die.
Where's my fucking check?"
This movie was 60 million. For a movie like this, you would expect like at least like
That's
for what they
insane.
were going for, you would expect this movie to at least cost 100 million. Like that's why this movie is probably as bad as it is.
Is this going to be the biggest flop of the year?
No. Yes. Probably. But depends on
what?
I don't know.
Flop being like movie money loser, is that how you would define it?
Well, yeah.
Go.
The problem is, okay, Nance, the part of the problem is for that to be, it's like you got to see a movie that's like at least 100 million and no one goes to see it, versus like this movie, like I don't think 60 million and no one goes to see it. It's not as bad as like 150 million, 100 million and nobody sees the movie. Like, I don't know, but
sounds like a lot to me.
60 million is nothing for, there's 60 million for a blockbuster like this is nothing. That's like that's a small ass budget for a movie of this caliber. If this movie was just another people talking in rooms movie like we've already seen earlier this year,
the action stuff,
that would be a decent budget for that movie. But for this, it's like, this is awful. Like they needed more money. They really did.
Yeah.
Yes, Nans. Why wait, you all are playing Zelda? Nans, what did you think of this movie? You don't have to answer that if you don't want to.
Bad. Screw this movie.
Perfect response.
Yeah.
It's bad. Screw this movie.
Yes.
Perfect.
It made me sick.
I love it.
Yeah.
I've never been like Charlie, when you go back and you talk about Cocaine Bear being a terrible movie, like you should really reconsider your feelings about that movie, because
that one
I enjoyed Cocaine
movie.
Bear.
This one
was a movie
barely
with
a movie.
Real actors who could perform their lines. The comedy might have not worked at times, but like
it still
had me engaged. It still had me engaged.
No. A bad movie
at no
is a
time.
I don't think you can call this a movie.
That's my trouble with this, is that like I said in my intro, pulling this movie apart is like beating up a retarded person. It's just not fair. This movie really shouldn't be on the list. But even so,
hey, there's some really
Cocaine Bear is so bad. Cocaine Bear is so bad. They had more resources.
Not as bad as
they clearly did. They clearly had more resources. They had more talent behind it, and I felt like that. Like watching this, I was laughing my ass off at just how awful certain things were and how cliche everything was and how nothing made sense, and it was like watching a movie on random. But Cocaine Bear, I felt like actively hated me, like, and I hated it. Like Cocaine Bear didn't want good things for me, and it wanted me to suffer. Whereas
I didn't have that at all.
Well, because you're like, oh, it's so funny because you thought that she was gonna shoot the bear, and then she turns the gun and shoots the guy in the head. Like
because Cocaine Bear knew what it was. Cocaine Bear
movie, I was just like, what the?
This movie was trying so hard to be serious, and I could never take it seriously for 1 minute, and I didn't even find it funny. I got bored. I was the first time I
you didn't have any. It's so bad, it's good moments.
No,
you didn't have any of those.
No,
I think you had those because you watched it with
Cocaine Bear was way more fun.
I sat there alone.
I saw Cocaine Bear with a friend. We had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, Nance, if you would have seen it with me, you would have had a better time because, like,
Yeah, because at least
I mean,
you
if I
had
was by
Scott there,
myself,
like,
I
oh,
would've
that
been-
was
I would have
crappy.
been laughing at certain
Charlie,
things.
there was
you know?
one moment that I probably laughed out loud, and that was when Nick Stahl comes out with his cyborg armor. Which, by the way, Hollywood, if you ever do cyborgs, you have to show their bodies as
Yeah.
cyborgs. They can't just wear a suit. Okay, that's why RoboCop the
Like
remake didn't
Famke
work.
had fake
You
hand
have to
arms.
show
apparently.
them
That's like it just
that
looks like
their
she's wearing
entire
gloves.
innards are now gone, and it's not just they're wearing a suit. Okay, but when he pops out and he's like got his like armor helmet on, but then like the first like the top of it's gone, and it's just like his face, I was like, oh my god, like that was
Well,
the
he
worst
says,
moment.
he goes, what happened? What did you do to me? Now I'm a cyborg. It's like, then why did they even keep your head? Like, why did they keep any
Yeah.
of you? What's happening? Because everybody,
Right.
all the other cyborg things
No, that
are
to me is
just
bad
cyborgs.
costumes.
But this whole
That to
movie
me-
is what's happening.
That to me is bad costumes. That to me is like you got, and that's the thing. Someone would say, oh, but that's like, if I said it was cheap, they'd be like, no, that costs a lot of money to make those costumes. Great. But when you tell me that it's supposed to be a cyborg, and I look at it,
Yeah.
I'm like, no, it looks really bad.
It's
And
just a
even,
guy in a suit, right?
you know what also looks bad is
Looks
when
like a
you have
G.I. Joe.
when the action scenes are
Yeah.
fight, like the bad GI Joe, like the GI Joe movie, the first GI Joe movie. But when you have action scenes where like the dude gets punched in the face and then like you see the helmet move, you shouldn't see that. Like that's not something you
Yeah.
should see. That takes me out of the movie. That makes me think he's wearing a costume. It was things like that where I'm like, this movie is awful.
Yeah, well, then
this
that was
is
the thing.
so
Like
bad.
in the
I
so the
hate
way
it.
it opened, it opened with the you know, he has a fight and then he accidentally
any sense.
uses his Cosmo, which then attracts Famke, and they drop off a couple of those cyborgs, and Sean Bean's like you know, and stuff like this. You're it's before the movie has soiled its pants, so you're like okay, like this is interesting. Sean Bean's like, look, you either come with me now. That is essential choice.
They took it
right?
out of the
It's like you either
Matrix. It's like the
it's a
Matrix
Matrix moment. It's a Matrix moment. Yeah. You either come with me now. Yeah, it's not like Matrix invented it, but yes, like
Speaking of
they did
soiling
that. They did it well.
I wasn't even holding my farts during this movie.
Excellent. Back to Nan's reacts. This is
Thanks,
bad.
Scott.
Screw this. And
I'm
this
just
movie
gonna
made me
fart.
fart.
I don't care.
So
Oh,
yeah,
wait,
you got
hold
vape
on.
shit in the air and your poop particles and the guy talking on the phone. Like you should have just rubbed one out while you were at it. You know, like why not?
No one would have cared. They'd be
Why
like,
not? Like-
that's more
like,
entertaining
Scott,
than this movie.
I'm sitting next to Scott, and we're kind of like at first, like you know, I'm like eventually, I was like, okay, Scott and I, it's okay, dude. Let's just talk the whole time because like this movie ain't working. And I turn around and I was like, Scott said, you know, there were two other seats that were sold, and I was like, yeah, I don't see anybody. He was like, yeah, but like they were sold at the back. Like there's two people fucking back there. I was like, no way. No way. He was like, this is the movie to do it. This is the movie to do it. Nobody's gonna be there. Nobody's gonna be there. It's like some dude, some like 15-year-old saw the trailer and he was like, I'm gonna take my girlfriend to see that. We're gonna sit in the back. You know, like it's one of those movies where you got a bang spot. You know what I mean? So, but that turns out that wasn't true. There was nobody but Scott and I, and we laughed our asses off. And yes, having somebody with you is better than not. I mean, I saw Cocaine Bear by myself, but like seeing I don't need somebody laughing with me to laugh my ass off when shit is either actually funny or so bad it's good funny. But anyway, let me get back to what I was talking about. So Sean Bean's like, you either come with me now or you let these cyborgs take you. And there's a random dude with dreads with Sean Bean. And for some reason, that guy doesn't run. He doesn't run away. He's like, I'll face down the cyborgs. And then they beat his ass. Like it would have made sense if he would have, if he,
as they say.
Yeah, it would have made sense had he actually fought. Had he fought them immediately, immediately he gets taken out. So it's like, okay, that was a waste. Then they're running, and they run into John Wick guy, and it's like, get down, and he has a super awesome sniper rifle, right? And he fires off a round, hits one of the cyborgs right in the head, does nothing, right? So then, and they get away and stuff happens. Flash forward to the next time that guy, John Wick guy, gets in a Iron Chef guy gets in a fight, and he pulls out just like a normal little like shitty looking pistol, and he shoots one of the cyborgs, and you see this bullet. It just looks like a normal bullet. You see it, it's like all Matrix style, like cameras following the bullet. Awesome CGI shot, hits one of these cyborgs just like it did the first time, and it actually penetrates, and he just goes, "What do you think of my super special bullets?" And it's like, okay, and that's what I mean. That's why this movie is like a 5-year-old wrote it.
But then that guy gets up later too. It's like, what?
Well, yeah, he still gets up, but
he had the
like with a 5-year-old where you're playing a game and the 5-year-old is changing the rules on the fly. It's like I got you. You're like, you didn't get me. No, I have special bullets. I have special bullets now. Where did you get the special bullets? 2 days ago, you had a huge sniper rifle that you shot the guy with and it did nothing, and you're telling me that like the next day you suddenly have super special bullets. What is that? But that this movie doesn't care about any kind of setup and payoff. This movie is just like a 5-year-old's like, and then this happened, and then but now we got the super special bullets. Like, hey, little kid, where the fuck did he get the fucking bullets? But the 5-year-old is like, who cares? You're like, no, but 5-year-old, you have to care. You have to set that up. Fuck you. It's just, none of it matters because it's just a movie set on random.
I'm glad you brought that Scorpion King guy up because we see him get tortured later on, right?
Yeah, like, this is true.
What's that?
We see him get tortured later on for information.
Yeah.
Does anything come with that? Like the guy has a centipede thing and he's like freaked out about it.
All I remember is that like that. So
what did he
the
reveal?
guy,
he's like, what do we need?
The guy who's the villain at
location?
the end that he's like, I also have the Zodiac power. Like that's another character in the show. So I'm like,
hang on. The guy who he's a bad guy because this is how he talks. Hey,
and he has his hood's always up like this.
I have a hood up. Did you see the ear? Did you hear the I have an ear in the ear?
Like,
did you see that?
Lines buzzed in his hair.
I'm like this, yo.
Hey,
I'm the
Here
Phoenix. Like it's just like oh, you must be a bad guy. He looks like he's 12 years old, but he's like, I have an earring in my ear.
Here, there we go.
Yeah,
there you look just like him.
Yeah. Now you're a bad guy. Yeah, that's right. Like it was like
you guys are
at least
like, I don't even
shouldn't
know
be
their
hard
names,
to cast somebody.
I guess Charlie.
Like either talk normal.
He's got the blue.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to be as I'm trying to be as
McCurdy's like
possible.
Phoenix guy or something.
That's a sultry face right there. wait, hold that.
Sneaky little snake.
Like and subscribe.
But that was that's the thing where you could maybe I don't know is the director like, does he not speak English? Is it one of those types of movies
I don't
where
know.
He just hears a voice and he's like, that's fine, but if you had like an American director next to him, they'd be like, he's affecting this voice. It's like, I'm bad. Yeah, but it's so B movie-esque that it's obnoxious,
Yeah.
So that's where it's like, this really is one of those movies that everybody just made it through the day and then went home. Like who was there to give a fuck? And that's why I say it's a movie that is clearly like, okay. John Wick 4. We talked about how John Wick was made by a stuntman. The director, Chad Kalinsky.
Yeah.
He is he's just like a stunt guy who apparently is an amazing director. Because while those movies do rely on action, they're still like there's craft that goes into them beginning to end, but they are a big excuse to have the cutting edge, state of the art action.
Right.
But those movies wouldn't work if that's all they were, right? So they have enough setup to them where people care in the slower scenes. This one though is a prime example of it. Just looks like I said, if you told me some stunt guy who decided to be a director made this, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense because they don't give a goddamn until there's a fight scene. It's like everything's boring, and then a fight scene starts, and suddenly it's like like suddenly there's care put into the visuals, but I don't care about, like I've said a million times, I fall asleep during action scenes because you already know the outcome and you're just going through the paces. But with something like this, you're like, nobody cared about what was happening. Nobody cares about this story until an action scene starts.
Right.
What's up, Scott? You fuck.
And I didn't care
that
the whole
Scott?
time.
Yeah, Scott is.
Hold on,
87.
everybody. I got something to show everybody.
What?
Wait, where's it? Why can't I
You trying to go to
it?
yourself?
No, I'm
Do you want
trying
to
to go to the there.
Oh, okay.
You have it
Wait,
all.
okay.
There we
you
go. I made this last night.
Is
Thank
that? Did you make that AI?
Is that an AI?
An AI picture, and I said, make Shia LaBeouf eating pancakes because Charlie loves pancakes.
Oh, why is like syrup coming out of his mouth?
Because why not?
I
'Cause
guess.
he loves
yeah.
pancakes. And
Yeah.
and I really didn't have any effort in this one. I was like, I'm gonna go online and find because it kind of does look like Charlie, honestly.
We're guards. Yeah,
I mean,
we're
it's
guards.
Charlie
Guards, yeah,
eating.
We're guards. Yeah, we're guards.
No, that stays.
Oh my
that stays
God.
in the Halo gaming.
No, you know what?
Guard,
Okay,
yeah.
so this movie did remind me of another. Again,
This movie
we were talking about
gave
Power
me
Rangers.
AIDS.
We were talking about Power Rangers. I don't know if you guys watched the 2017 movie, but it did remind me of that
No.
because this movie, like if you watch the anime, there's a lot of action. They have these armored suits. You see them in the armored suits a lot.
of
Even when they're
fireworks.
not, the action that's going in between people are like, I'm gonna fight you and like all that stuff, right? But like in Power Rangers, the remake movie, there's like all these scenes. They spent a good chunk of the movie of just like people talking about their feelings because they're like, well, we don't have anything else to show because we don't have the budget to make them fight the entire time. So let's just have them talk about why they can't do their destinies or some stupid thing like that. And that's what this movie is. It's just like, yeah, this is my daughter Athena and she's the real Athena, and you're like, okay. And
I
then
hated
Yeah.
how she kept calling herself a goddess. I was like,
it's like, I'm a goddess. And then he's like, you're the rich girl. And then I was like,
Well, okay. So
so bad.
Flashing forward to the end of the movie, because they have so he goes off on his obligatory training thing where some redhead
yeah.
who
She's a
like,
character in
is
the
like,
show. That's an actual
who,
character
like
in the
hardly
show.
moves, and
Would
then
make sense.
suddenly they hired a dancer to like do this well choreographed stuff that you're like, okay, for all the flash, who cares? And so also he can get his Pegasus armor, and then it's revealed to him that like his sister was taken, or like these people that are like Athena's family, Sean Bean and Famke took his sister. It was them. So then he goes back and he makes a big stink about it, and the girl's like, John Wick guy's like, shut up. And he's like, no, they took my sister. And then she just goes, yeah, he's right. Come with me. And they get on a bike and they leave. And it's like, princess, you can't leave the walls, because if you leave the walls, whenever your Cosmo comes out, we can't protect you. So it's like really stupid that she does that, because she's like, get on the bike and then we'll drive off. But and then Sean Bean watches them drive off, and it's like, why isn't anybody stopping her? Because this could kill everybody. But for some reason she can't just do this in like the conservatory or the lounge or the whatever. She has to get on a bike and go out to a random coastal thing so they can have a dialogue scene where she talks about how she doesn't want to be Athena, but she is, and all that, just so they can set up a moment where he says, he's like, just because you think you have some destiny doesn't mean that you have to do it. So that at the end of the movie, when she's full Athena and she's like, we don't know that it's happening for sure, but it's like, apparently her doing that is going to be like a bomb that destroys the entire planet. And she's told him before, if that happens, you need to basically, she says, you need to kill me. So he like fights the power thing, just kind of like an X-Men where Famke's character is like full Phoenix,
and Wolverine.
Actually, I
is,
was
like,
thinking
clawing
about
through
that.
the
I was
energy
thinking
because
I was
It
because
was
in
thinking
that
about that
movie
scene.
he goes up and he does kill her because it's what has to be
Yeah.
done. But with this, he crawls all the
Yeah,
way up
it
there
was
and he just
exactly
goes
like that.
he just goes,
Hey, well-reasoned argument.
and even though she's having a meltdown, she just goes, "You're right," as if she could be fucking reasoned with in that moment, and then it all stops. And he's like, "You don't have to do this," and then she's like, "You're right, I don't have to do this." It's like, couldn't she have fucking come up with that herself? What? How did you just reason with that? It's like reasoning with a fucking thermonuclear device. Like, please don't kill everybody. She's just like, okay. And then that's it. That's it. It's like, okay, now I'm Athena and I'm not going to kill the planet, even though that was kind of like what we were getting at. But had he, again, not knowing the lore, not knowing anything about the fucking manga
It's
or
not
any of that.
even that's like
it's
basically
like-
in the show.
it's
That's
like-
not really in that at all. Like as far as
Like,
the
wouldn't it
first
have been great
episode,
if he got up
Not
there
there.
and he just hit her in the head with a baseball bat? Wouldn't that have been awesome? That would have been fucking awesome. But instead, he's like, hey, you don't need to do that. She's like crying. She's like,
Yeah.
what? I don't.
I had already
He's
checked
like,
out.
yeah,
by that point.
don't do it anymore. She's like,
Don't do it
"Are you
anymore."
for real?" And then she
And
stops.
then they're sitting on a rock afterwards,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Hey, can we go find my sister now?"
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
And
it was
that's
like,
where
we
the
need to
movie
get
ends.
all the Knights of the Zodiac, and I was like, no, like, end it.
No
the
more
movie
Knights.
now. No
They have to go
more. This
find all the
series
X-Men.
dead now.
Well, like again, this probably would have worked. I think this movie would have worked a lot better if it was just like Mortal Kombat, where they were like fighting each night and they were up for like, trying to compete for something other than just like, I don't know. It's just
If-
it was just so dumb.
if
But
there
oh yeah,
was
we were
some
talking about
structure
lore.
to the
Hold on, we were
movie.
talking about
There was
lore.
some
We were talking about
structure.
lore and exposition, right? We're talking about lore and exposition in films. And like you were talking
Best
about it,
lore?
and I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of like what no, I was thinking about like Star Wars, right? So one of the things that Star Wars does really well is it doesn't do exposition dumps that are just dumb, where it's just like we have to explain all these little details about the Force and all this stuff in ways that don't, like, you're just like, what? Like the movie drops you in and then you're starting to have to figure all this stuff out. Like you don't necessarily, the Empire's bad. The rebels are good. Like, the basics. Like, you're like, okay, these people are good. These people are bad. This movie just does a terrible job of like explaining. Like, this movie does a terrible job in a lot of things, right? But one of the things that it does really bad is just like every other scene is like, oh, let me explain this other detail about the lore of the Knights of the Zodiac, because we didn't do it in a creative way where we could kind of show you and you can get the sense like, oh, the guys with the armor, they're good. The guys with the black things, they're bad. Like, I get that. I don't need to be explained that. Like, things like that where it's just like they did it so much that I was like, oh my God. But and even the intro, like the intro was cool because it was like the only part of the movie where the CGI wasn't like atrocious. And it was like,
But how did Famke
looked-
get the Athena's curse?
so she gets it because they explain that Athena as a child, like, because she was her mom, right? And like Athena as a child, like, used her Cosmo powers and it destroyed her hands. And so she has no arms. So she got no leg, Lieutenant Dan. So Sean Bean's like, okay, well, I get you special.
I'm divorcing
hands.
you because
I'm
you
gonna
don't
divorce
have
you
arms
because you have
anymore.
no.
She
Well,
can
he
suck people's
yeah, no.
cosmo
So
juice
what
out.
she did, what she does, she gets special robot hands that they make, but they are powered by Cosmo, and so they have to get all these children who
Can't
have
they be
Cosmo.
powered by
Why?
electricity?
Why did?
I
Yeah,
don't
why do
know.
they
I
have to be
no
powered
idea.
by Cosmo?
I don't know.
None of this is explained.
I don't know that one. That's the only part of that whole thing I don't understand.
She
I'm
pulls like a what is it?
And that's
Sleeping
what I
Beauty,
got. Like, I understood that, but I was like, this makes no damn sense. Why?
And then,
why,
and then
like,
okay, so that and then at the end, she's
because
just
her
like,
motivations make
let
no
me-
sense.
she's like, you killed my dad, and you killed
Yeah.
all these people, and you almost ruined everything. But let me fix your arms, and I love you, Mom. I love you.
Fuck off.
Like, coincidentally, it's Mother's Day, so she's like, like right now, today is Mother's Day. But like in the movie, she's just like,
Happy Mother's Day.
I know
to all
you've
the
been
moms
trying to
watching.
kill me my whole life, and you almost did kill
I'm
me,
so
but like,
mad.
let me remove the. But like,
the whole thing
Sorry,
of her
Mommy.
giving her the curse in the first place, because I'm assuming that when she picked her up the first time, she didn't mean any
No.
harm, and yet she
No.
suddenly just
But
gets
that's
this
their whole-
curse for no
That's
reason.
our whole motivation. That's our whole motivation of the movie. That's why I think this, like, that's another reason this movie sucks, is because the motivations of the characters are like so nonsensical. Like her motivation,
Except Sean
is
Bean.
like-
Like
Nothing makes
literally
Sean Bean's
everything
just
you
like,
can
"We
say,
gotta protect Athena.
except Sean Bean is like the mantra of the night. Like everything sucks except Sean Bean. But
it's
was
all
he,
set up.
Was he
It's
given
all
enough?
set up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all set up so that we can make this franchise, right? So they're like, his
Yeah.
motivation is we got to create all these knights of the Zodiac to protect the god Athena from these other gods, right? But we never
Yeah.
see any other gods. And like, if someone says, well, what about that knight at the end of the movie? Like, no, he was just another knight of the Zodiac. He wasn't a god.
Yeah.
Who was after her. Like, that doesn't, like, again, it was
You
just like,
think you're
okay,
the
so then
only
the
knight?
antagonist of the movie is just,
And now
yeah,
I'm
the
gonna
antagonist
fight
of the
you.
movie is just his
We're gonna
ex-wife who
fight.
was something, who's dumb. They should have just made this a tournament. Like, they should have just been like, he's gonna fight in this tournament to get this other armor. And how are we gonna fight? Oh, well, we're giving you this cloth, and he had been already training, and there's no like weird setup where it's like, oh, he was in this fighting ring. It's like, no, he's all aware. He's already aware of
Why
all this
was
stuff
he in the fighting ring?
in the beginning of the movie, or
I assume for
Yeah.
money.
well, again, like that was what the movie, that was what the manga and all that stuff's kind of about, is like they're fighting in this tournament and stuff, and he is a fighter. And there's actually like the
None
very
of it's
first
explained.
episode,
It all sucks.
the very first
This
episode of
movie
this movie
sucks.
of the show, like that he fights that same character and beats his ass, and you're like, all right, and he takes his ear off, which they didn't do in this. Also, like, if you're gonna adapt this, make it gory like the show was. Like, if you're gonna be like, oh yeah, it's an adaptation, just make it like that, like it was just McCurdy. If this was a
Yeah.
tournament, what that crappy Tekken movie from years back did exactly that. Yeah, I know, but that's what this thing is supposed to be, is a tournament thing. And so is Mortal Kombat. Here's the thing. I saw Mortal Kombat, the most recent one, the HBO, the one that came out in 2021, right? That one was probably just as bad acting, but I enjoy that movie way more because they actually put money behind all the fights. And like,
Yeah.
that was the only reason I went to go see that movie, because I was like, oh yeah, this is like it's the story's like lacking, and like it's not as good as the original Mortal Kombat movie from '93 as far as the story goes, but like the action scenes were cool, and I got the gist of like, yeah, they're fighting in a tournament, and like they are all fighting different Dragon Ball Z characters, and I was like, or Dragon Ball Z, Mortal Kombat character, who cares? But this, it was like, I didn't care. I was just like, this is dumb. I didn't care.
Just to cover off on this, you realize pretty quickly that they didn't, whether they ran out of money or whatever excuse, the CGI is largely crap. And y'all have heard me
I was
say a
wondering
million
if it
times,
was supposed to look like crap.
No.
Do you think it was an artistic
nothing.
decision? Like,
If
oh, it
you
should
watch
look like a
nothing-
game.
nothing
It should
first-
look like the
Hey,
anime.
make this look
Again.
like crap. No, that's never the intention. But I get what you're saying.
No.
It was
No.
bad.
But my
I think
ultimate point
it
is,
looks like
if the
a
story
video
was
co-pilot
there, I wouldn't
tutorial.
care. Yes, it does. If
Right.
the story is there, I don't care. I can so if I can just do this, if I can just squint and through the CGI scenes, if the story is good enough, I don't give a goddamn about bad CGI if the story is there. Like one of my favorite examples of this is, I have yet to see the new Dune. We're going to cover Dune 2. We'll talk about Dune 1
You
during
didn't
that.
watch
But
Dune 1? Oh,
no,
man.
but
I
I
haven't seen
because
Dune
I'm
1.
waiting because we're going to
That's
do
like
Dune 2.
you had to have seen
But-
it in theaters.
Yeah, but the Dune did a TV show version that Patterson and I watched, 15 years ago, and it's great. It's a Sci-Fi Channel original series, and therefore it's like really low budget, but I don't care at all. It's like watching the original Star Trek. I don't care that everything's kind of
TNG,
cheap.
like you and I talk
the
about
budgets are
TNG
crappy.
all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah, you and I
the
talk about
stories
TNG all the
are
time. TNG is really good.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if the story had been there, I'd be like, I don't care that it looks like crap. But once you have both, you really just have nothing at that point.
But I would
and
also,
that's
I would
why
also,
I say this.
I would
reviewing
add
this
to your
is like
argument.
beating up a
I would
retarded
add to your
person.
argument. I would add to your argument, though. It's like certain movies cater to a certain essence or a certain thing, right? Like we talked about John Wick being like, that's a movie that lives and dies and breathes on having these amazing action stunt sequences, right? Or if
Yeah.
you were, to watch a Marvel film, those movies die and breathe on funny, quips, but also like the action and the sci-fi elements that are like very comic booky. This movie has to sell that aspect of fighting, of the anime elements, the things that are fun about watching the anime. You have to sell it on that stuff. But the problem is this movie doesn't have the budget to make that stuff look good enough for us to even care. So then you're not even left with that aspect of it. You're just left with all like these dumb talking and room scenes that aren't really good to begin with, because they're just people talking about their feelings, but it's not really pushing the story. And like that's not what you come to expect for those movies. You want the
down
action
our
scenes.
throats.
Like so much exposition.
Siban Saya, what's his name?
I don't know. I don't even know.
Saya. They shoved down our, and this is what I say is like fill this up with every cliche line in the book. Saya the whole time.
My God.
It's
So
just
much
like,
of that.
I want nothing to do with this. No, like, and at one point, there, one of the worst aspects of a bad script is where it's like, okay, the screenwriter might be a clever person, but they don't know what they do is, I'm clever, so I'm going to make every character say something clever at all times, to the point where you're like, that's not how people talk, and so it's just the writer just being like, look how clever I am.
Every single scene is like this, and that was like the one. Yeah, exactly
so
what you're talking about.
So they fly Saya in to the super secret mansion compound, and I did appreciate where they're walking in, and Sean Bean's like, like, here's all these statues and history of the ancient gods and all that. That stuff's cool. But the whole time, like every single response of Saya's is like, whatever. Yeah, I don't care. You're stupid. Shut up, old man. Where it's like, okay, we get it. We get, like,
It's not even that. It's like it's
after a while. But one line in particular, that I thought that stuff was okay. But one line in particular, he says, I was flown in on a really expensive plane thing, and now I'm gonna walk away on my own 2 feet. It's like, who the fuck talks like that? You know what I mean? Like that stuff, like,
throughout the whole
stupid
movie.
fucking lines like that would stick out, where it's like that. He wouldn't say that. He would just get up and walk out. But it's like, no, we got to have a really clever line here. Because these people are rich, and I'm going to stick it
For
to
the
them.
teenagers to be like, whoa.
Yeah. So there were like I said, certain things that I'm like, oh, I appreciate what's going on here. That Sean Bean we're in a room where he's got all these old statues, and he's telling us that, like, the ancient gods are real and all that. But they just keep shoving down our throats. Like, oh, I get it. This Seiya guy doesn't want anything to do with it. But he, like, at a certain point when you're introduced to some kind of interesting thing, you might just shut up and listen, especially if there's, like, even if you want to leave, you can't. So he just, very quickly, you're like, this guy is annoying. Like, he really just is fucking annoying.
No, it's like, Charlie, it's like the, it's like, okay, I compared it to Star Wars earlier, right? In Star Wars, Luke Skywalker is a whiny little bitch in the beginning of the movie, but he's a whiny little bitch because his whole concern is like, I live on this stupid desert planet. I want to leave this fucking desert planet. My parents won't let me, or my foster parents won't let me go to the academy and all this stuff. And so he's just this whiny little bitch for the first, first 20 minutes, 10 minutes he's in the movie, or 15 minutes. And then once he meets Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan's like, look, your dad was this amazing person,
but I was gonna go to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters.
But like, that's it. And then he stops. That's the line. That's the line. But then he stops being a whiny little bitch after a while, and then he's like, he's still a little whiny, but like he slowly grows up, because then he's like, wait, this is cool. Like, I actually do get to do the thing I want to do. I want to leave and do something great. And this movie is just like, he's a whiny little bitch the entire movie, to the point where I'm just like, oh God. I tell my porn actors when I direct them to say the dialogue like you would in a real conversation, if not your. There was so much bad dialogue in this movie, and it's amazing that both Sean Bean and Famke could like get through it. And then those other actors, I'm like, I felt bad for them, because I'm like, Like Nans, you
Yeah.
said this earlier. Like, I feel like this is going to ruin their careers because you're like, oh yeah, you were in that really garbage movie that was
Yeah.
so bad that the guys
But
at
it
Ranked
relied
put it
the
at -0.
story. The story itself relied so heavily on flashbacks and like as opposed to
That didn't work.
the classic show don't tell, but their show it's a lot of tell and then with flashbacks that like we'd already seen or whatever. So it was that's where it's like if you're like take a movie like Wanted. Let's just pull out of a hat a movie that is like Fish Out of Water or The Matrix, you know, just like a guy.
Right.
A guy being introduced to a world where he's the chosen one, right? Harry Potter. Like, take your pick. Any of these. Spider-Man. Take your pick. And well, with Spider-Man, it's not like this where
stick to like Star Wars
Wanted.
or something like that.
I'm gonna stick to Wanted. So it's like you have a special ability, and we're going to build that,
Train
right?
you. Yeah,
so you have, you know. And that's why I said in the intro that they have all these elements of the hero's journey where it's like, okay, well, now you have to be trained, right? So they send him off to go get trained by the Silver Knight and all that. But in something like Wanted, it's like they take us through not just like an explanation, like just a general explanation of things, but a visualization of those things with an explanation. So the whole training sequence maybe having other characters involved and while they're explaining what the Cosmo is and therefore you would have limitations, right? So it's like what do you get in the Matrix? In the Matrix, you have this whole training montage that's visually interesting while you're learning about the real world and the artificial world. And what do you get at the tail end of that when they come out the first time? Neo, he's bleeding and he goes, what the I thought this wasn't real. And, you know, your mind makes it real. Oh, shit. So now we have this consequence, right? If you die in the Matrix, you die in the real world. So now it's like, oh, we have rules now. We have rules. Yeah. When you don't have rules, you don't have any context. We talked about this with Evil Dead. If you don't have rules, you don't have context. So when things happen, they just feel random, right? They're as random as... Well, now I have special bullets, you know, just like how kids work on a fucking playground. It's like you're it, I quit. I have super special power. I have a super special thing covering me now. So when he gets in a fight at the end, there's no. So he goes to save Athena at the end. He's got the full. He has the full like Pegasus armor because he jumped out of a helicopter. And because he jumped out of the helicopter,
that worked in the Hulk script because they were like, "Oh yeah, Incredible Hulk." Remember that when Bruce Banner jumps out and he's like, "I'll figure it out," and then he's like, "Oh shit!" And that movie, that moment was
fear,
fun, and then
gives him full Pegasus power or whatever.
Remember that?
So then he goes in. He goes in to save the princess, and suddenly this guy, the McCurdy guy with the earring and the hoodie,
wait, hold on, I got to put my
bad
earring
guy.
on.
Yeah, I'm a bad guy. He suddenly reveals because
I felt like
Famke
he had too much control over his costume. That's what I think happened.
Yeah.
I think that actor was like, I want to have an earring and a hoodie. And I just want to come to set like this every day.
Do I look badass? Yeah, great. Okay. Can I get like a tattoo on my face? No, that's where we're gonna draw the line. No, I looks fucking badass. Fucking
I look so awesome.
But so then he just suddenly reveals himself to be the Phoenix. So suddenly he has armor. So then the two armor guys are Seiya and bad guy.
Then it turns into Dragon Ball.
It turns into Dragon Ball, and there's no like context of what's going on. There's no
motivation behind the other guy. Because we don't know why
going back to the
source material. Going back to the source material, because I'm going to be that nerd guy. That guy is like another one of these knights, and he's like, you didn't think you were the only knight in the room, and I'm like, yeah, why didn't this whole thing be like he meets the other knights and he has to compete with these other knights? Like that would have been far more interesting than like a dragged out sequence of him training. A bunch of exposition in room sequences with the hot girl because whatever, and then like, oh, we're by the beach.
You don't want to spend time with her, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right. But it's basically like they didn't have money and they were like, oh well, we can't do all the nights, so we can only do 2 of them. We only have the budget for 2. We can only build 2 costumes. Which ones? Okay, we'll build these 2.
Costumes
All
aren't
right.
even good.
Like, I guarantee you that guy with the
They look like
dreads was
cosplay
supposed to be
costumes.
another knight, and then they didn't have the money to be like, yeah, we'll give him a costume too.
They looked
And
like
the
Beetleborg costumes. Do you remember
They weren't good
Beetleborgs?
I loved Beetleborgs.
They
I
look like
loved Beetleborgs.
Beetleborgs.
Here's
Me
my
too,
fix.
but
My
that's not
fix-
good in this.
No.
movie made me
My
sick.
fix would have been okay.
This movie
So
gave me AIDS.
I kept bringing up. I kept
Everyone
bringing up,
has AIDS.
Stop. Just stop.
AIDS.
Let's stop
So,
talking about
my
this
fix-
movie.
AIDS.
My fix would have been
You can't fix it. It's garbage.
Don't make this movie in the Ukraine or wherever they made this in. I think they
It
made
looked
this in
like
Hungary.
Croatia or Greece.
They
or
made
some
this movie. Yeah, they
Mediterranean.
made this movie overseas, and
Yeah,
I was like, well,
Croatia
why
for
didn't you just
sure.
make? I wish they made this movie in Japan, and just make it like the Shin Godzilla series or something like that. And
Yeah.
cast all Japanese actors. Bring Sean Bean in. You know, be like, Sean, you're gonna do some
Everyone's
Japanese.
Japanese except
Everyone's
Sean Bean.
Japanese except for Sean Bean. Do the same movie. I mean, not this. A better written script, but like on the budget of a tokusatsu, like Power Rangers, Kamen Rider type thing, but like make it a movie and put it in, send it out, dub it, sub it, whatever. I would have watched that over this. Because then at least if it was crappy acting, I couldn't tell because it was all in Japanese, and I'd be like, oh, this is awesome. Like that's the founding thing I love is that like as Americans, we watch movies like Seven Samurai and we're engrossed in the story. I have no idea if the acting's good. Like I have no idea. I can't tell.
Yeah.
I can't tell because the line
'Cause who
delivery. Because I don't
cares?
know. No one cares. The story's
so
great.
good.
Story's
Yeah.
good. I would have rather watched that version if they had just, made it in Japan, got a bunch of Japanese actors.
The trouble
more
is
time on
when
the
it's
script.
all the things, right? When the
Everything's
effects are
bad.
bad, and the acting is bad, and the story is bad, where everything is bad, and you have glimpses of it's so bad it's good, glimpses of those moments because you have Xenia Zergevna on a top, go, like you have
That was like a
moments like
who's that one director? Who's that one director who did the video game movies like Your Bowl or whatever his name is? What was his name? He did the movie Postal,
like U-Bowl.
U-Bowl, and I think he did Blood Rain. Somebody in the comments, like SB, one of you guys, if you know what I'm talking about, right? Like that's what this movie reminds me of. Like that's the quality of like let's make the adaptation really bad, and just like this cheap.
Oh, they're saying maybe Paul W.S. Anderson.
Maybe, but I don't think. I think Paul W.S. Anderson might even be better than that. I haven't seen. I'll be honest, I've never seen any of the Resident Evil
I remember
movies.
the name U-Bowl. I can't.
U-Bowl, I
remember
think, has made some
things
really,
he's made,
really
though,
bad movies. But this is on par of this.
Postal.
Yes,
some other
and
stuff.
I've heard those are
German
really
filmmaker.
bad. Like they're really bad video game adaptations, and I feel like this is in the same
Blood
vein. Of
Rain.
that. Like so bad, like not good. It's not even good. I didn't think
No.
it was good. Cocaine Bear knew what it was. It was a stupid movie trying to be stupid. They were going for this is a B movie. They knew that. Charlie, you can complain to me about like I didn't have a good time at the movie theater. Well,
This
Charlie,
is
we all
worse.
know
This is the worst
this
movie.
is so worse. This is so
This
bad.
is
not
like,
so bad as so good.
like I know I get it. I understand that I'm inevitably going to be outvoted. I get that.
This is
but
worse than Cocaine Bear. I could sit through Cocaine
But like
Bear.
I said,
Agreed.
this movie is more reminiscent of
There's
Plane
gore
than it is of
some funny
Cocaine
stuff.
Bear, where this movie is like nobody cared about. Like here my thing about Cocaine Bear
was
is
better.
that Cocaine Bear
Plane was
should
better.
have been a good movie. Cocaine Bear has no excuses. This movie kind of has excuses. It really does. Does that excuse it? No.
No.
But Cocaine Bear
What are the excuses?
actively hated me. Cocaine Bear just like I said wanted bad things for me, and Cocaine Bear should have
What's
been
that? Yeah.
excellent.
Hold
Should have
on.
been
What's that?
fantastic. Let me do
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Hold on. Okay. Hey, Charlie, this is the filmmakers of Cocaine Bear. They just want to tell you to fuck yourself.
What?
I thought you were being like the guy in my showing.
I thought you were. I thought you were
During
going to
the
say
stream.
something more clever, but apparently you're channeling Cocaine Bear, which isn't clever. Which
It was. I love that more.
Cocaine Bear should have at least made me laugh one time but it was so lazy. Even though it had Ray Liotta, it had all these. It had a literal cocaine bear. It had a literal bear on cocaine, and it couldn't do anything entertaining. It was desperately trying to make me laugh. It was a pathetic fucking waste of everybody's time. So is this movie, but this movie is. I can't put it any better fucking way than saying that making fun of this movie is like making fun of her. Like, McCurdy, you're running up to a kid with Down syndrome and you're gonna be you're hey, you have Down syndrome, and he's like yeah, I do. What the fuck? What I do? What, that's what you're doing right now. You're like, this movie's so bad. Hey, you have Downs. It's like what the fuck, But Cocaine Bear has no excuse for why awful it was, other than the worst filmmaking possible.
You're so off.
I don't understand your argument.
Wrong. Your argument's so dumb. It doesn't make any It doesn't make any fucking sense. You know what? Cocaine Bear is like, yeah, let's make a movie about Cocaine Bear. That sounds like a ridiculous concept. Yeah, it is. Let's just make it really.
Should have been amazing.
Let's do that.
Should have been amazing.
Shut the fuck up.
How do you fuck up a movie called Cocaine Bear?
And we talked about the real
How
things
do you
that they
mess
fucked
up a
up.
movie that's based on a fully
they shoved in way too many characters in a movie that should have had at least maybe 1 or 2 storylines, not 50 storylines. That's the biggest thing they fucked up in that movie, because at least they had some gore, it had some weird fun stuff that I was like, yeah, this is ridiculous, and I enjoyed it. I love the Popeye like cocaine thing that they did at the end, where the Cocaine Bear just goes like, he gets the cocaine and he becomes Popeye, and then he kills Ray Liotta. I was like, that's awesome. I love that. And I love that stuff. None of that movie is awesome. That is bad.
None of that movie is awesome.
It is, because you have no
none
soul.
of that movie is awesome.
That is
There's nothing redeeming about it. The
problem with this movie, no, it's not making fun of like a kid with disability.
Like,
that's not
my point is that this movie doesn't even belong on this list. This movie shouldn't be on this list. This isn't a movie. We didn't watch a movie.
Terrible adaptation that should have been maybe straight to streaming. Somebody at Sony Pictures
straight to DVD. Straight to VHS.
Someone at Sony Pictures was like, let's put this in theaters. Somebody at Sony Pictures said, yeah, we could put this in theaters. Somebody said
gone the way
somebody
of that
said
ET
this should have
game
gone
where
to
they
Bargain Bin.
trying to get all the copies and bury it.
Netflix should have gone to Crunchyroll or some anime streaming service. This had no business being in theaters. This had no business being it was the worst thing I'd ever seen. I have never seen a movie like you talk about Cocaine Bear being bad. I've never been to a movie. I've never been to a movie where I literally just wanted to leave. Every movie I've seen, I usually am like, okay, I'm intrigued. I do want to sit and watch this. As bad as these movies might be, Plane had me interested. Cocaine Bear had me interested. Knock at the Cabin. All the movies at the bottom of the list.
Yeah, at least
I'm like, I will sit through the end of the movie because it's not that bad.
Let me answer this. Let me answer this.
This movie is so bad on every single level. There's nothing. The only redeeming thing I can think of is at least the stunt people try to put their heart and soul into certain aspects of this movie. Is the only thing I could come up with, because the directing is awful, the action is awful, the CGI is awful, the acting is awful, the production design's awful, the costumes are awful, the visual effects are awful. Nothing of this movie is good. The script is
not a
terrible.
Movie. We didn't watch a movie.
It is a movie. It is a movie, and it's awful.
It's in movie theaters.
Bad.
We watched it for our movie show.
Cocaine Bear was watchable. Cocaine Bear was a movie that I could sit through and watch,
I
didn't hate it. Your concept of a movie that you hate, I have no idea. I have no idea.
Let me answer this question though. The irony is this: Cocaine Bear was supposedly a comedy that never made me laugh once and was pathetic, but so far as Zodiac is concerned, I laughed. So the irony is this: I didn't laugh once at Cocaine Bear. I laughed a lot at Zodiac, and that's where it's for me. I didn't walk out of Zodiac. I walked out of Zodiac pitying it, being like, God, I feel bad for it and everybody associated with it. But I walked out of Cocaine Bear pissed off at the world and wishing that I had shot up the whole theater. I was like, fuck. I wish I brought an AR-15 so I could just kill everybody and then myself. That was how I felt at the end of Cocaine Bear.
You know how joy in your soul. You're so angry. That is why.
No, Zodiac gave me a little bit of that joy. This is what this reminds me of is our arguments over. This reminds me of our arguments over the bottom of the list for Bond, which is The bottom movie is You Only Live Twice because it's meh. And the second from the bottom is Die Another Day. Die Another Day at least has some gusto to it when you're comparing the two worst movies. And so for me, Zodiac at least has some gusto, but Cocaine Bear has no redeeming qualities, and it made me want to just.
It has so many more
everything.
redeeming qualities than this movie. The acting in Cocaine Bear alone is better than this movie, and you could say, "Oh no, the acting's terrible." Like the acting is believable. Every single one of those actors, I'm like,
anything better about Cocaine Bear than this movie.
I'm like when you see a movie with really bad line delivery, that's when I'm like that broke me. I was like, this is a terrible like. The only person who's doing a good job is Sean Bean.
The only difference is that Cocaine Bear had A-list actors out the ass, and they all were pathetic. Every last one of them was pathetic. Watch this. Like, Cocaine Bear is a bigger failure. It is a bigger failure. This movie having a bunch of unknown actors, it at least has an excuse. Cocaine Bear should be like number 5 on our list, and it's at the fucking bottom. Like that's how big of a fucking failure it is.
I don't think it needed it. It has no
Cocaine Bear should. It's a movie called. Like, do you know how excited I was to see fucking a movie called Cocaine Bear? It should have been hilarious. It should have been entertaining. How do you fuck up a movie called Cocaine Bear? Instead, it was insulting and lowbrow and stupid.
I enjoyed it.
Desperate.
I thought it was fun.
It was so desperate. The movie was so goddamn desperate. It's like every actor's like, I'm gonna do something funny now. I'm gonna do something really funny. Hey, I love animals. Animals
kind of like all the one-liners in this movie. Yeah, those were supposed to be fun and cool.
They were supposed to be fun.
They all sucked. This movie sucks.
This movie sucks so hard.
To switch up.
This movie
just
should
so I
just
stop
be
saying
-0.
retarded. This movie is like sexually molesting your buddy's grandma. It's like, dude, you shouldn't do that. That's too easy. That's
why
too
this movie
easy,
should be,
dude.
This movie shouldn't even be like 21 or whatever. It should be
negative. This movie shouldn't even be on this list. That's the trouble with it. This movie should not be on this list. That's why I'm saying it should
be number 100. Put it at 100 because there's no way anything else this year will beat it.
We're never seeing another movie like this ever again. This was the worst damn experience I've ever had in the movie theater. It was so fucking bad.
No, not Huevos. SB, we want another $1 now.
I'm so pissed.
It's been an hour. We want one more $1.
I want SB to go see the movie.
I want SB to go watch it 10 times.
Like guys, I'm just gonna say, I'm just gonna say right now, like as I said at the outset, I know I'm gonna be outvoted. I get that, but McCurdy, I didn't leave pissed off. I left feeling bad. I left feeling really bad for everybody associated with it because everybody associated with it, like you said at one point, you're like, I get the sense that this is a movie that ran out of money, and that's why I say
they just didn't have enough.
Almost
money.
Unfair to talk about.
They didn't have enough of anything.
Cocaine Bear had a blank fucking check to do whatever it needed to do, and Cocaine Bear somehow was a huge piece of shit. And that's where I'm like,
people enjoyed it.
Like relatively speaking,
but it was
Cocaine Bear should have been a good movie, and it's an insulting piece of garbage. This movie is just a flat line from beginning to end. So I get it. I get it.
It's a bad movie.
Like this movie because you got
a bad movie.
Oh yeah,
I get it.
I get it. I like this movie. No. Say it again. I like this movie.
We'd be like, this movie is so.
This movie isn't a movie.
I gotta argue for it.
This movie isn't a movie.
And that's why it should be at the bottom of the list.
Exactly. It should be on the bottom list.
It shouldn't be on the list. Like I'm fully considering making an exception where it's like this. Like here. It's like we put
just don't add it to this.
We just put a goddamn line like across the whole thing.
I like it.
You know, and then there's no like underneath it all.
This gives us good reason to do like a redo. We should redo this week. Watch.
Yeah, you know what we should go see? I wanted to go see Book Club. I'm like, I would have rather seen Book Club. I'd rather see Diane Keaton and whoever else was in 80 for Brady.
Book Club would have been worse.
9 times before I went to go see this.
Crazy ass.
I would have
like this. This is what I'm talking about. Doing something like this, like
that
literally visually looks like you buried the movie. Like He buried
Yeah.
it.
Because
Under
it's not
the
a
list.
movie.
It is
That's
a
what I
movie,
mean.
unfortunately,
You know?
it's a movie, and unfortunately, it was really bad. You know what it also reminded me? I just wanted to say this. This movie reminds me of, like, I don't know, Charlie, I don't know how many short or film festivals you've gone to, but you go to a film festival, and I swear, like, every film festival, there's always like 2 or 3 of these movies where someone learned how to use Video Copilot, and they were like, they got their buddies together and like, we're gonna make this like action movie that I'm gonna pitch as like this big sci-fi thing, and it always looks terrible. Like, it doesn't look good. Like, the story sense, it's just not like you're really not engaged at all in it, and you're like, I don't know what this is, and I don't know how anyone could want to sell this or use this to sell something to somebody. It's that bad. This was this whole movie for 2 hours. Like, there's only one other movie that I felt like that. Like, okay, I did say there's never been a movie where I ever want to walk out. The closest was I went and saw Skinamarink, and that movie should have been a 10-minute short film, not an hour and a half movie. But at least Skinamarink was like weird, and it was like, okay, what's gonna happen? And I was genuinely scared at one moment. But this movie, this was so bad. It was just so bad. I feel insulted. My eyes feel insulted. I feel insulted by you.
One of the other 2 guys in my theater
SB
walked out at one point, and I was like, he made a good choice, but he came back. So I don't. Maybe
he
like
made a terrible
masochist or
choice of coming
something. I
back.
don't know.
He
SB,
went and
I
called his
can't
mom.
believe.
Mom. Mom.
Come and pick me up.
So bad.
This
Honey,
movie
I can't
sucks.
come pick you up. You might as well go back into the movie. Don't make me go back in, please. Don't make
This
me
is why you
do
shouldn't have gotten
it.
drunk and lost your license. Learn your lesson. Watch Zodiac.
Yeah. It's and like this is no different than the million times that we're either arguing about the top of a list or the bottom of a list. It's like, if you stand up for a movie, you must love it. You just hate Goldfinger. You love
do.
Die Another Day. Blah. Like, no. We're arguing about one giant piece of shit versus another piece of shit. I'm thinking,
telling you, the giant piece of shit is at least you know what? One of them is diarrhea. One of them is a fully formed piece of shit. That's my argument. I think that's how you should look at this. One is diarrhea. One is absolute diarrhea.
Because you need some story. You need some fiber.
There's no fiber in this. There's no fiber in this poop.
No, what you just
poop.
did was you just laid out, you just articulated the perfect metaphor for what I've been saying,
You
which
just
is that
shat out
Knights of the
perfect
Zodiac
metaphor.
isn't even a movie. And it's not even a movie, as in it's not even a fully formed piece of shit. It is just it's liquid
diarrhea
shit. It
Sick.
never even
Like, when I was
formed
in the
itself into a
hospital,
whole piece of
piss
shit. Cocaine Bear.
I was
Cocaine
happy
Bear.
when I got.
Giant
Knights
piece
of
of
the
shit.
Zodiac.
Listen, Charlie, when I
piss
was in
or
the
is it shit?
hospital,
Or is it both?
I was
a
happy
mixture
if
of
I
piss
had
and shit.
fully formed poops. I was happy if I had fully formed shits. But if I
Yeah.
had like liquid diarrhea poopy poop, like there's no like solid. I was upset about myself because I'm like, oh man, that's awful. Like, I'm not even eating.
This is
any
the
real food.
perfect this
Like-
is the perfect
like that's
segue
why-
to Chernobyl, because that's all Nance and I want to do is talk about Chernobyl. So McCurdy, you having cancer is the perfect segue to us talking about Chernobyl. Okay, go.
No, this movie gave me cancer again. Like, I'm pretty
This
sure.
movie this movie
I
SB
have
just gave us
radiation
another dollar.
sickness from this movie.
Yes.
SB,
Yes, we
yeah.
just got SB. Yes.
Yeah,
Once
this
again,
movie
your
gave me
sin
another
one more sin has been absolved, SB.
SB
for
you
that
are so-
dollar.
God, SB, you can't come back here.
List.
SB, can we set? Is there a way in the settings that we can set it so that he has to pay $1 every time he comes onto the stream, like, or like instantly, like that's trans.
This is all
Like-
his
Like,
fault.
can we?
His
Does Fiverr
diarrhea
have
shit
mob? Like,
is his fault.
like, can we pay people on Fiverr to like beat him up to give us money? Like, is
Yeah.
that?
Okay, yeah, SB, we need your home address.
Does Sean Bean do cameo and we can have him say, "Screw you,
Yeah.
SP"?
Can
Right,
we
so
pay?
SB,
How much-
fuck off, mate. Fuck
All right,
yourself,
hold on,
mate.
Hold on, guys, hold on. Let me see this. Let me look something up real quick. All right, let's look up what's a cameo.
There's
Sean
no way
Bean.
Sean Bean
Surely
is on
he-
fucking Cameo.
Well, he was in
Surely,
this movie.
Scott has looked into this.
He was in this movie.
Yeah.
So let's see if he has. Okay, here we go. All right, I'm on Cameo. Let's see. Sean Bean.
If he
Sean
did
Bean,
it, he
eh?
did it a while
Sean
ago,
Bean.
right?
Sean Bean.
Maybe we don't need
Here's
Sean Bean.
eh?
Okay,
What
there's no
about
Sean
Bean,
Bean.
eh?
What about Famke?
Let's see if Famke's on here.
Or
on,
the
like, you were
Japanese
in this
guy.
movie. Like, come on, guys.
What about the
What's some like
Japanese
low
guy?
rent celebrity that we can find?
What about
Like somebody,
chef
you know.
guy? What about the chef guy?
This is
That
all
guy.
to talk shit to SB. Okay, let me just while he's researching, I know I'm gonna be outvoted. I think Cocaine Bear.
You should feel
doesn't
bad for even
have
saying I'm going to be
cocaine-
outvoted. You should feel bad.
This
Charlie. No fucking
movie,
soul.
this movie is a pathetic mess and doesn't belong in this list. Cocaine Bear. I would say this. I'd say objectively speaking, you guys are correct, but Cocaine Bear.
There's no but. That's the
Cocaine
answer.
Bear hates me and hates life and thinks it's Cocaine Bear thinks it's a movie and it's not. This movie is like as much as I try, there's no way to put it any better way than it's like running up to a retarded person and being like, "Hey, you're retarded," and it's like, "Yeah, I know I am. Why are you saying that?" It's like, I'm ranking you next to people next to you. This movie shouldn't be on the list, but it's on the goddamn list, and we're gonna put it at the bottom because it's the obvious spot for it. But Cocaine Bear is also an unbelievable garbage heap and has no excuse for being at the bottom. Plane was a low budget movie nobody cared about. It's got some redeeming qualities.
Let's talk about the difference between this movie and Plane real quick, just because for the diarrheas and giggles.
Yeah,
because like Plane, again, it's not good at the things it does, like in compared to other movies, and it's a low budget action film. But like the story and the premise itself was enough that I was like, okay, I'm interested, and it was very clear. It was a clear premise, it was a clear story as to what was going on. Like they go to this island, people have stolen the passengers. He has to save the passengers. He uses the criminal that was on the boat with them, or the plane that was with them, and they have to go. Great. Like I'm already sold on the premise alone.
No idea what happened in this movie.
I'm sold on the premise alone. This movie, there was like I was so lost.
What's a Cosmo? What are these little pendant necklaces?
Why do they need the necklaces?
Apparently, there's multiple levels of being a knight.
Like what? Why is there this
Famke
corporation?
doing?
How does this corporation make
Cosmo
all
through
this
a
damn
straw.
money on like this armor that like did they sell to the military, or are they just like is their whole purpose to be assholes? Is that the whole thing? Like, do they just go steal people? Like nobody's like, yeah, maybe we should stop these people. You know,
that's what I mean. It's not a movie. Like
so
we didn't
dumb.
watch
It is
a movie.
Unfortunately, it's a 2-hour movie that we watched and we hated.
That was
Can
in
we start
theaters.
ranking Fathom events?
Like this should have been a Fathom event. This should have been a
opera was so lame, yo.
Should have been a
bunch
Fathom
of
event. I would have.
Yeah, we should do
Should have
that.
been a
Fathom
event.
events.
Hold on. Who's
when they
25?
released Taxi Driver and all that.
Let's see who's worth $25, guys. I don't know any of these people.
Can you share your
you're at
screen
Cameo
so we can
still?
see what you're
Sure.
talking about?
Let's just look at
Anyway,
Yeah,
the movie's
hold
been
on.
ranked. We have an actual movie for next week, right? Fast.
Yeah, we're gonna go
Is that
see Fast X. That's the
Yeah.
movie we're seeing. But if
Sweet.
we see a movie in the
Okay.
middle of the week,
Oh,
I'm gonna
hell
say
yeah.
we go see Book Club or we go see Hypnotic. One of
Yeah, I
those
think
movies.
we have to make up for this piece of
I feel
crap.
like we should see Book Club because that's what we probably should have seen. I would have taken that movie.
Well, Hypnotic,
100%
maybe
over.
Hypnotic?
Probably Hypnotic, actually. All right. So anyway, let's look at actors here. I'm on Cameo, so
Okay.
I'm like, I don't see anybody. So these
Okay,
people are like,
McCurdy,
worth
you
20
have
bucks.
you have 30 seconds, McCurdy, and then we're not going to go above 90 minutes on this.
Okay,
I'm going
I'm
to
just
end
gonna-
this.
you
in
know what, I'm
30
just
I was gonna
seconds.
say we better not go over an hour, but I thought Charlie would.
Yeah, this
get
movie's not
upset.
worth it. All right, well, that's all I have today. But you know what? Let's Yeah, Chucky had his syrup in his mouth. He's got it all over his face. But
Yeah.
there's no toast to this movie. There's
The
no
toast.
I'm not
Yeah,
toasting.
we're not toasting
toast-
to any people because this movie's garbage. We're toasting to the pile of cash that roped in Sean Bean.
It's the only thing you need.
That's it.
That's it.
That's all. Yeah, that's
it.
all we get.
To money, to piles of cash.
To the money that tricked Sean Bean into being in this, because he's the only. If there's a redeeming quality at all, it's that Sean Bean was in it in exchange for a pile of cash. Hopefully, God willing, he got paid in a pile of cash. So to a pile of cash, a nondescript pile of cash.
This movie made me sick, so I have to take NyQuil.
Yeah, take your AIDS medicine, everybody.
I don't think I'm supposed to be drinking on this stuff.